Motorcycle camping is not backpacking, but it's not car camping either. It's like a weird mutant hybrid offspring of the two. Motorcycle camping is an amazing way to get out into the backcountry, see the world, but it is a very unique animal, and there are a lot of things that I didn't know when I started motorcycle camping, and I want to pass on some of that firsthand knowledge to you, hopefully to help you avoid some of the same mistakes that I made. I've been car, tent, trailer, camper camping my whole life. And so I was sure that that prepared me for everything I needed to know to start camping off of my motorcycle. But when I started camping off my bike, it turned out there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. The first of which is this idea that motorcycle camping is not the same as car camping, but you don't have the restrictions of backpacking either. It's a weird kind of hybrid mutant combination of the two. So you have the space and volume constraints of backpacking, right? You don't have a lot of room to carry a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't have to be as lightweight as it is for backpacking because you don't put it on your back. I'm not saying that weight doesn't matter. In fact, having a lot of weight on your bike can really hinder your riding experience, but you do not need to go out and spend $200 on a titanium fork to save 2 ounces the way that you sometimes do with backpacking. Volume is more important than weight on a motorcycle, so you can afford to buy less expensive stuff that's equally small that maybe weighs a little bit more, but you still don't have the I'll just throw in everything in the kitchen sink freedom that comes with car camping. This particular topic, this idea that it's kind of a cross between the two, is something I could go on about forever. So let me know if you'd like to see maybe a full video on that particular topic in the comments. But for now, suffice it to say, it is a weird cross between backpacking and car camping where you carry minimal amounts of gear, but it doesn't have to be super lightweight. Second thing I wish I'd known before I started motorcycle camping is something I'm still learning every day, and that is there are so many different types of motorcycle camping. I'm a dual sport ADV guy, so I like to go to campgrounds up in the woods. I like to go explore dispersed camping spots. I like to go on long multi-day rides in the backcountry where I camp, like BDRs, things like that. That's what I lean towards, the more off-road stuff, the more in the wood stuff, but there are a ton of other ways to motorcycle camp. There are people who camp off of Honda Goldwings pulling literal trailers that pop out into a freaking full, like a pop-up tent trailer, no kidding. That is motorcycle camping. That is camping off a motorcycle. It's not what I do. It's not what I think of when I think of motorcycle camping, but those people are out there. There are people on Harleys camping out of a duffel bag strapped to the rear of their sissy bar and sleeping underneath a tarp attached to the bike at a rest stop. There are people camping off of 1250 GSs with every single hard case that BMW offers. Side cases, a top case, a ton of luggage, up to and including like coffee makers and air compressors and stuff like that, all loaded up on their bikes. That's another way to motorcycle camp. There are hardcore minimalists out there who go motorcycle camping with a tarp, a mountain house meal, and a sharp stick. And those are the people that tend to comment on all my videos about how much gear I bring. But that is another way to go motorcycle camping. And kudos to you if that's your style, but I like to be a little bit more comfortable than that personally. You'd think motorcycle camping is like this super specific niche, right? Like there's one very specific type of thing that motorcycle campers do and need. That is not the case. And you got to keep that in mind because not all motorcycle camping tips, tricks, and advice are going to apply to you in the types of camping that you want to do. The advice that the person camping off the Goldwing with the tent trailer needs is very different than the guy with the sharp stick in the middle of nowhere trying to start a fire with a rock and cook his freshly killed field mouse or something. I don't know what those guys do, the survivalists, man. Important thing to know is something that I didn't know, and that is just that there is so much variation within the world of motorcycle camping. So just take the advice you get with a grain of salt because it may not apply to you specifically. Third thing I wish I'd known before I started going motorcycle camping is that you have so much less space for just-in-case items. I was a car camper forever, as I mentioned, most of my life up until the last 5 years or so. So I had a camping box that I just threw in the car whenever I went camping. And in that box was stuff like paper plate frames and holders and extra cups and a bunch of like hot dog sticks, extra paper towels, bowls, just stuff that is like, I may need this, I may not, but if I have it, then I'll be excited that it's here. But in a car camping trip, you can do that. On a motorcycle, you really don't have room for things that you don't use. The obvious exception is you should always take your first aid kit, your tools, and your satellite communicator, some means of communication. Even if you don't use your tools in your first aid kit, you should still take it every time. But beyond that, in terms of camping gear, if there's something that's not getting used on a camping trip every time or almost every time, you probably don't need it in your kit. You probably don't need to carry it with you. And so a good way to kind kind of judge that is to go camping. Pay attention to what you use, and when you come back, unpack the things that you don't use and don't put them back in whatever bag the next time you go camping. Don't take them with you and see if you can live without them. Motorcycle camping is about compromises. There are moments when you're going to be slightly less comfortable than you would have been had you brought that just in case item, but there are an equal number of moments where you don't need it at all and it's just taking up space in your bag, adding extra weight to your bike, getting in your way. It's a pain in the ass to pack and unpack it to get around it. So you can take a lot fewer just in case items when you're motorcycle camping. It's important to make sure that the stuff you're taking is useful on every trip, sort of like a backpacker does. The number 4 thing I wish I'd known before I started motorcycle camping is a big one that really hit home for me last year when we did the Washington BDR, and that is there is a difference between riding to camp and camping to ride. If you're going camping, you usually arrive earlier because you want to get to the campsite, set up, enjoy yourself, kick back in a chair with a few beverages, cook a nice meal, hang out with friends, chat around the campfire, all that stuff, right? That's going camping. Sometimes you do that for multiple days. Sometimes you set up a base camp like that and ride out from it. When getting to camp is not the point, but the camping is the point, or you're gonna spend a lot more time in camp. That is riding to camp, and you can take a lot more stuff. So you can take your luxuries, your chairs, your fire making stuff, multiple ways to cook, whatever it is, because you're not gonna be riding anything super hard and you're not gonna be riding super long necessarily. Especially if you're like riding to a campground a few hours away, you can take all kinds of stuff, especially if you're on the road most of the time. Camping to ride is an entirely different animal, and that is when you're out riding and your campsite is your hotel room. It's where you sleep, it's where you stop and rest for the night. Maybe you make dinner, maybe you don't. Crawl into your tent, sleep, get up, put everything back on the bike, and ride again. Typically, you're getting to camp much later because you're riding all day. You don't need a bunch of stuff to sit around and be comfortable in camp because you're just not going to be in camp that much. On that Washington BDR trip, we had a fire one night. You know how much fire making stuff I took? Way too much. I'm not going to be taking a bunch of luxuries this year, and I took way too much stuff on the Washington BDR. I had 3 ways to cook. I had my jet boil, I had that little solo stove, the foldable packable solo stove, I had my pot and frying pan set up, my whole Sea to Summit setup. I did not need all 3 of those things. All I needed was my jet boil. Because if I have to cook a Mountain House meal or heat up some canned soup or make some rice or something, I can do that in the jet boil. I did not need 3 different things. But that was just in case stuff that I took with me. So when you're riding to camp, you can take a lot of stuff, a lot of luxuries. You want to be comfortable at camp. When you're camping to ride, you need to take the bare minimum that you need to be comfortable or even survive the night. You are riding the motorcycle, stopping to rest, getting up and riding again. So there's a big difference between a camp to ride trip and a ride to camp trip, and the gear you take is very different. And that's another thing I wish I'd known before I started motorcycle camping. And the 5th thing I wish I'd known before I started motorcycle camping is you don't have to take everything you need because you have a motorcycle. You can go get it. You can go get stuff. Backpackers need to carry everything. They walk in miles, they're there for the night, and what they have is what they have. Car campers can carry whatever the hell they want. Full cooler. I have an electric cooler that I put in my truck when I car camp sometimes, and I can have stuff frozen. I can take ice cream if I wanted to. On a motorcycle, you don't need to carry everything because you can get things. And there's really 2 ways to look at this. One, you can set up camp and run to town if there's a town nearby or a store. I've eaten at a gas station a bunch of times, but we have to get fuel anyway, so there's stops along the way where you can get some things sometimes. So if you can set up camp, get all your gear off your bike, that frees up all that space to go get stuff you may need for that day specifically. You can get cold beer without it having to be on your bike all day because you can just ride in and get it. You can get ice. I like to turn my dry bags into makeshift coolers. You can get fresh food at a grocery store. Instead of trying to freeze a steak and carry it with you all day and hope it doesn't heat up and go bad, you can just go get one and come back to camp. If you're camping close to town, within 30 miles or so, generally I'm willing to make the ride. Or you can just go into town and eat at a restaurant. You don't even need to carry all your food with you because you can just stop and eat food. You just have a backup dehydrated meal or something. Now, I know what you're thinking. The obvious exception to this is, I have to go camp in the back country, so far from town. Well, then one, maybe you do need to take everything you need. It depends on how long you're going to be out there, but the other thing you can do is stop along the way. So if you have like a 5-hour ride before you get off the pavement and then it's another hour up into the woods, you can at least stop after hour 5 at a store and get fresh food. Was not expecting that to happen. You can at least stop after hour 5 and hit a store to get fresh food, cold beer that might still be cold when you get up to the woods, a steak or meat or produce if you want to like chop up vegetables. I would rather have produce in my bag for an hour on a hot day than 6 hours in my pannier next to my motorcycle engine and exhaust, unless I'm trying to heat it up or cook it. The point is, there's a lot of flexibility in motorcycle camping that backpackers don't have, but we don't have as much flexibility as car campers because we can't just take everything with us. But with the motorcycle, you have the ability to go get stuff and or pick up stuff along the way, and you need to factor that into your calculations, because I did not cook one time on the 5-day camping trip I did last summer, because I was just stopping at gas stations getting food, and then when I knew we were going to be up away from town for dinner, I just grab a cold sandwich or something and take it with me and eat it once we got there. I did not take 5 days of food with me. You do not need to do that on a motorcycle because your transportation allows you to acquire things along the way, and that is the 5th thing I wish I'd known before I started motorcycle camping. So motorcycles give you more flexibility and capability than a backpacker, but you do not have the just throw everything in freedom of car camping. It's a unique challenge, and that's what makes it so fun, and it's an amazing way to get out, see the wilderness, see the world, see the country, see whatever it is you're trying to see on 2 wheels, inexpensively. Motorcycle camping is cheap once you have a bike and all your gear. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully I can save you some of the pain that I felt learning these things personally along the way. But what do you wish you knew before you started motorcycle camping? Leave that in the comments so other people can learn from your experiences and benefit from your shenanigans. Also, did you know I have a full motorcycle camping tips, tricks, and advice playlist? Check that out. I'll put a link in for you. I also have a full playlist of years of motorcycle camping videos that you can watch for inspiration and ideas, or to learn what not to do. So check that out. I'll also link that for you. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you want to see more tips, tricks, and advice videos for motorcycle camping, and don't forget to share with your friends if you haven't, if you've got people that you think could benefit from this information. Please consider subscribing, because I'm the dork in the road and I want to be your internet riding buddy, and I'm better than your regular riding buddies because I come with a mute button. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!
Motorcycle camping is not backpacking. Hi, Lando. Hello, Mr. Noisy. I'm trying to make videos, not talk to you. Bye. I'm trying to film. It's too cold to go outside, bro. Cats.